Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show, which is presented to you by Power Planter Earth Augers, the official digging tool. To find the right size for your digging project, visit powerplanter.com. Now here are your hosts, Joey and Holly Baird.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener Radio Show. Thank you for staying with us. Knew you would. We're going to talk about vining fruits and vegetables. Some people don't have the space in order to grow vine crops.
No, but some people do.
But some people do. And even
I think that's one thing you definitely want to consider is they're vine crops, so they're going to vine out, and you need to have the space for that, however that looks.
And there is some times in which you may not have the space, but you're able to adapt in order to grow certain crops. For example, cucumbers.
Right. You can build a trellis. But something like a pumpkin, like a regular sized pumpkin, you're not going to be able to trellis that. And they do.
Pumpkin that's 40 or 30 or 40 pounds is difficulty to trellis. We'll get on into all that. So first thing first with these crops, you really need to just direct sow them in the ground. You see a lot of things online where people are starting these indoors, and we've got a couple of questions about that. What should I do? They're oversized. I'm still a couple of weeks away. You really should just direct sow them, because by the time you get them hardened off to get them acclimated to the outdoor temperature and plant them, and you plant a seed beside them, they're caught up in about 4 weeks, at about the same size. So direct sow them in the ground or in a container.
Or even a straw bale.
Even a straw bale will work for all of these. A straw bale, you have to condition the bale. You just can't jam seeds in it. So just for a note there.
Now, another option is maybe you don't want to plant them in your regular garden or a raised bed, what have you. You can take a bag of compost. What is that, a quarter cubic foot?
Well, about 2 cubic feet is what some of those bigger ones. But a foot, 2 foot, yeah.
Yeah. You put it kind of on its side. It's kind of awkward and weird, but then you cut it open. It kind of settles, and then you just plant your seeds in there. And that's something that the whatever that vine crop is will grow out of. We've
gotten 2 jack-o'-lanterns out of doing that. We've gotten 3 Jardel pumpkins out of that. Works very well. And you don't have to worry about a container, because that is the container in which you're growing. Now let's start with the simplest one here, cucumbers. There is bush variety cucumbers, which means they grow like a bush, like a zucchini type of plant. And then there's vine ones that will vine 6 to 8 feet. We've always trellised our cucumbers here in the gardens. Growing up on the farm, we never trellised cucumbers. They just sprawled across the garden. And it does make it much more of a difficult task in order to hunt down those cucumbers. And then you always find that one that is now the size of a football because it was hiding. And the key to cucumbers in this instance is you must continue to harvest. Otherwise, when that plant matures that one fruit, that plant shuts down, because its job is done by maturing the seeds in that one fruit. And it doesn't care that you were going to pick anymore. It's done. Right.
So one thing we forgot to mention is that you want to think about hilling your mounding these viney crops. So the way you mound it is you just make a mound that's maybe 3 to 5 inches off of the normal height, whatever you're using, whether it's the ground, a raised bed, a container, whatever you want to mound it a little bit. And the reason why is because they appreciate a warm soil for germination. So when you mound it like that, it warms up the soil quicker with the sunlight, and it also provides more surface area for the sun. And then that way you get faster germination for these crops.
And then the seeds can sprawl out and go down through that loose soil.
It prevents these viney crops tend to feel waterlogged. They're more sensitive to being waterlogged. So when you mound like that, it prevents that from happening.
So another crop that we talked about, cucumbers. Grapes is another one. Now, grapes is a perennial, meaning that they will last 10, 15, 20 years. Growing up on the farm, we still have a giant grapevine that has been there as long as I can remember. And it's on very large, there's 5 or 6, 8-inch round fence posts mounted in concrete and thick wires that these grapes continue to grow on and produce heavily. So that may not be the option for everybody, but if you're getting into grapes, they can be a lifelong crop that you need to do some maintenance on in order to sustain the heavy production in which they produce for you.
Right. So that's an option. Definitely.
You can do it on a smaller scale and continue to trim them back.
But definitely something to consider is that they're a perennial, and you're going to have to make that commitment if you are going to grow grapes. Another one is pumpkins.
Everybody wants to grow a pumpkin.
It is cool growing a pumpkin. Like, I get the appeal, and it's fun, and there's a lot of different varieties to grow. But it is a commitment. It does take...
On the large scale, 50 to 100 square feet for a one pumpkin plant that will produce maybe 3 on a good end, 4 on a high end.
Right.
Pumpkins.
Just because, and I think that's the hardest thing sometimes for people the hardest concept for people to grasp is that they think they're going to plant one pumpkin seed and they're going to get
30 pumpkins.
30 pumpkins. And that's
These
not true.
These are not Jack B. Littles. These are big monster pumpkins. The Jack B. Littles, you can get a dozen or so. That's the little tiny decorative ones that you get at the craft fair, or at the farmer's, harvest, whatever you want to call it. But we're talking about the big 10, 12, 30 pound pumpkins here. And jack-o'-lanterns are not the only type of pumpkins. There's dozens and dozens of very good, meaty pie pumpkin varieties. The jack-o'-lanterns were just, that's a novelty there. Anybody can grow those for fun, but we like to grow ones that are for particular consumption purposes.
Right. The biggest thing is, when you plant these, when you get well-established plants, you want to kind of thin the herd, essentially. You want to thin out the weak-looking ones and then keep the nice-looking
and trim back the vines in order to stop the outward growth and focus the development of the fruit or the pumpkin on the vine. We've done that, and it worked very well. Another one that a lot of people want to grow, but because of their geographical area, they just cannot get to grow, is watermelon. It's a southern plant. It's a southern heat-loving plant. And if you really don't have 150 days of really good, warm, hot summer atmosphere, you're really challenged to get the success of a watermelon to grow in your garden.
You can grow. There are some varieties that are more
northern cold tolerant.
Right. But still, it is a little bit of a task to do so. And sometimes, if you grow a northern variety and it takes a while, I remember that one year it did not taste good.
No.
It was just it wasn't very sweet.
It was bland.
Yeah, it was very bland. So you are kind of taking a gamble no matter if you grow a northern variety or just a regular watermelon. And it kind of bothers me that the local seed stores just sell these melon seeds and people try to grow them and they get frustrated. It's like...
You're not going to grow a 50-pound watermelon in central Wisconsin, central Minnesota. The average gardener is not going to achieve that accomplishment on any type of year whatsoever. We were able to grow a couple of years back the cream of Saskatchewan watermelon. It's a little. They can get 12 to 20 pounds. Ours was like a softball size. It had yellow flesh in it, thin skin. I thought it was okay. We grew it out of out of a straw bale, and that was also a year we got our first cantaloupe ever because we grew them out of straw bales. So we're going to try some very unique things this year because we've got grow bags and we've got an irrigation system and we've converted our garden over. We're going to do some very different things with the likelihood of some success of growing these type of items in your garden. Or in our garden. So be aware in your garden that you're going to need some space. Cucumbers, watermelons, pumpkins, cantaloupe, honeydew, whatever. You're going to need space in order to have success. And do not just go to your garden center and go, oh, they have honeydew plant starts. Let's throw them in the garden. Be sure that you can do some research if you're in some, northern North Dakota or Long Island, New York, wherever. See if it's even feasible that you can potentially grow something like that in your garden, because it may not be that you failed. It may be because you just can't do it because of where you live.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.